practice sessions. Okay, a very good morning to each one of you. Welcome to the NEP 2020 from Policy to Practice Edition 2. We started last month with interviewing retired Lieutenant Colonel Jayakumar on the outbound experiential training that he practices for building social emotional skills. Today we have with us Mr. Ramprakash, who's the founder of Qatapultt. And after his a very long corporate life, he switched over to education as a field, and he's also among other. He does a lot of other things, and I think it'll be very interesting to have a discussion with him on the many things he has done ever since his transition. And also, of course, we will also focus on what he is doing primarily now. So, Ram, thank you for joining us, and it's a great pleasure hosting you in the second edition of the NEP 2020 series. So, while we get started, please just walk us through your journey uh, post transition. I mean, of course, you please talk about your corporate journey, but how you transitioned, why you chose to transition. Please cover all the entire journey for the benefit of the audience.
Great. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you all for participating in the workshop. And thank you, Karthik, for your kind words. Uh, so, as Karthik alluded to uh, it has been about probably 12 years since I started my second career, if you want to call it, in the education world or industry. Uh, just to give you a quick background in terms of my uh, career and prior to uh, the current industry, education industry. So I did my master's in computer science in the US, and I was there for about 18 years. And we relocated to India in 2004 to Bangalore. And I joined a company called Emphasis, which is an IT services company. And in about 8 years' time, I was heading their insurance division worldwide, consisting of about 1,500 employees around the world. Uh, so under my leadership, there are a lot of things that probably we are going to talk about today. Also stems from the experience that I have learned in the IT services industry, right? And it is much more than writing software, and probably that is something that I would like to share with you all. Uh, it's an interesting question that Karthik asked as to the transformation or the kind of the shift to the education industry and why. And many of you might be wondering that, right? While I had a very good job, it was exciting. I was able to travel around the world. I had a good pay, and I got to meet a lot of different folks across multiple countries across the world. When we came to services, even today, what happens is many of the college graduates are being recruited from the colleges, and there is a filter mechanism that each of the companies do to select them and then go through the training program. Now, invariably, what happens, and obviously it has gotten better in the last 10 years, but I'm going back to 2012. What has transpired is the skills that the candidates possess at that time when they join versus what the industry expected was completely different, right? And I'm not saying that the candidate should come with a lot of experience. The candidate should be able to, with some amount of training, which is specific to that particular industry and particular company, should be able to become productive within a matter of few months, right? And that's what, as a company, as a manager, I would be looking at, right? But unfortunately, I don't know how it stands today, though the employability is still, unemployability is still high, and the employability of the skills is also something which is a concern. I would say the needle has slightly moved, but still, I think we are far ways off. And the main reason for that is, I think, in my opinion and in my experience also, that a lot of these skills, if you divide them into two, the hard skills, which are the technical skills, versus the soft skills, we do not give enough emphasis to the soft skills, right? And we will talk more about this as we, move along in this workshop. But I think that prompted me to look at, okay, can these skills be developed in schools and colleges, right? I'm not saying that nobody thought about it. A lot of people thought about it, but it has to be started in the first semester or even before they come to the college or university. It needs to be started at a very young age, maybe the third grade or fourth grade or fourth standard or whatever it is, right? This needs to be built up over a period of time. So I think that was the main reason why I said money is important to a certain extent. Having experience around the world is important. But at the end of the day, I was not satisfied with what I was doing, because ultimately we had to do many things for the candidates to be productive and actually utilize their skills in a meaningful manner. And companies are always driven by profits, right? So I'm talking especially about private companies. So obviously they will be looking at how can I be productive? Can I make my company, my P&L as profitable as possible, even before I come in? So I think with that, I will kind of stop here. And Karthik, if you want me to go a little bit deeper into it, I can definitely do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. That definitely provides a good background in terms of what made you switch. I'm sure as we go along the interview, audience may have other questions. We'll give periodic time frames where people can ask specific questions around your transitions. We will now try to cover the first part of your transition, like when you said you transitioned out from the corporate. What did you get started with? I mean, you have stated the problem statements like candidates not being the mismatch between what academia trains them and what the industry wants, soft skills and other related skills. Can you take us through your journey as soon as you transitioned, what all you did, whom did you work with, and how did you go about it?
Sure, sure. Uh, Essentially, to be honest with you all, I don't think I had the clue in terms of how to get started. But I knew that I need to quit my job and start somewhere. And that is the hardest part. And uh, also, from a family situation, you also need to look at, when you're becoming an entrepreneur, you need to look at, how long are you going to survive, and what is the kind of leeway that you have in terms of the number of months or years that you can actually have before you actually dip into your savings, right? And that is also another consideration, right? Do you actually use your savings to invest in whatever you want to do? So all these questions popped up, and I was very, very sure that I wanted to quit, because even though I thought about doing while working at Emphasis and also looking at how I can help the colleges or schools or whatever it is, finally I spoke to a few mentors that I had at the time, and they clearly said, look, if you really want to make a change, you need to fully dive into the kind of things that you want to do. Then you'll be divided between what emphasis wants you to do, which is going to pay you the salary on a monthly basis, versus what you want to do on a daily basis in terms of skills. So I think that was a very critical decision to me. So once that was sorted out, then I decided that I will get into schools, because that is where I thought the seeds of soft skills have to be nurtured, started and nurtured, right? Because colleges have a different, objectives and goals, because you are going to specialize more on a specific topic, whether it is engineering, whether it is economics, whether it is commerce, or whatever it is. But then schools is where you are actually getting the students to cut across different subjects, different areas, right? And from that perspective, I thought it will be easier for me to get into schools. And since I was born and brought up in Chennai, I thought, let me start with Chennai, though I was in Bangalore. And I started visiting schools just to get a feel for whether an integrated curriculum of life skills, as it is called, is something that they will take forward, and in what form or shape. And I did that study for about a couple of months. I visited about 20-25 schools. I got a good feel for what they are expecting, what they are already doing. And then I started with a few skills, which, based on the 3-month journey of going to schools and visiting the schools, I thought this is where I would start. I started with a few modules in terms of planning, organization, time management, and things like that for 6th grade and above, right? To cut a long story short, within a year, I saw a lot of adoption by the schools. We had about 5-6 schools, and I had a couple of people that I trained them while I was also investing my time to go to the schools to deliver those classes. So the regular teachers did not have the time, so we took one period a week to start off, and that's where the actual journey started, right? So there was about 6 months of preparation, including the study, and then the next academic year is when we actually started, right? And along with it, I had 2 more people, because I was looking at this from a long-term perspective and not trying to do it on my own. Because if I really have to scale this up, then I need people under me who would come through with my journey, so that they can take on and I can take on additional tasks in terms of other aspects of the business, right? I think that is the turning point. I would say there were a lot of challenges. It's not easy to convince anybody to say, okay, this would be a great program and this will benefit the students, this will benefit the school, this will also help the parents to look at their own children holistically, rather than looking at just subjects, right? Because I didn't have the experience in this particular world. Though I had the software industry world experience, I had to really start from scratch, just like anybody would.
That's fantastic. I think a couple of beautiful things you said. Get immersed in fully, do the market survey or research. When I say market survey, it's not for money, but understand the problem space by actually visiting schools, understanding, talking to the stakeholders. In 2025 schools is a great thing. That's how that goes to show the depth of study of the problem. And as you rightly said, uh, something has to be scaled, which means you can't do it all alone. And you also started taking steps towards that. And the other sad part, which hopefully is slowly changing, the more and more people getting understanding that, see, we all know in our generation and even in the previous generation that academics can only take us so far. But yet, about 90-95% of the society, even today, is still beyond, still going after academics, good schools, writing entrance exams, medicine, medicine, NEET, IITs, etc. Right? It's very, very academic focused. They don't build the skills. which are going to be useful for them in the medium to long term, like what you said, soft skills, life skills, etc. I'm very glad that you are, and this change cannot be made by one person or even one team because the need is so vast.
Right.
Just even people who know and understand, for them to implement is going to change a mindset coaching, right? Because there is a knowing doing gap. Of course, there are a lot more people who don't even know that such a need is there. But even for the people who know, to implement them, they are worried. What if my son or daughter doesn't get into IIT or get into NEET? What will happen to them? That fear is there. So I think it's excellent that you got in. Now, in terms of how was the initial, I mean, now that you've done the research, how was the progress in the first few years, and what were your learnings? Can you walk us through that? What were your
Sure.
learnings? What worked well? What did you
Right.
have to learn from, adapt and pivot and modify? That will be an interesting thing to.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, as we started getting into more and more schools with a small curriculum, one of the things that we also identified, especially these schools came back and said, this is the feedback that we are trying to give. Can you do this? Can you do that? So they had lots and lots of requirements. But then requirements is one thing, but how can you actually put them into a structure which can be reused, which can be used in a meaningful manner that by which you can bring out the learning outcomes, right? Unlike subjects, which is core subjects, which are mathematics, science, social studies, and things like that, there is no true assessment mechanism where you can say, okay, I'm going to give you 10 questions. You answer these 10 questions in soft skills, in communication, in planning, in social, emotional well-being, and things like that. And you can say that, okay, you have passed or failed. There is no pass or fail in soft skills or life skills, right? So I think that was the biggest challenge that we faced because the schools were interested in knowing how the students are faring in these modules to start with. The second challenge was the amount of time that the school gave, right? Initially, we started with 2 periods a week per class, right? But then we had to scale it down to once a week, mainly because other subjects were taking that amount of time. Typically, in a school, you have mathematics every day, you have English every day, right? You have social studies every day, right? You have language every day, right? So all these things take up that amount of time. So what you could only do is to make sure that every week, at least one class, 1 period a week for that particular class is taken care of. Now, since you are only dealing with 40 minutes per week per class, you need to be absolutely sure in terms of what you want to do in those 40 minutes, right? And you're only going to meet the same class in the next week, not the same week. So you also had to ensure that what you do this week and what happens next week is something that is related and that can be continued so that the children do not forget nor imbibe in themselves. Because life skills and soft skills is all about imbibing in themselves, right? If they don't imbibe, then they're not going to practice, right? So these were some of the challenges, and especially when as we went through and came to the exam period and things like that, for whether it is formative or summative assessments and things like that, the core teachers also came back and said, look, we haven't finished our portions. We haven't finished 4 or 5 chapters, right? Can we take your life skills period? But we didn't have a choice at that time because the core periods are much more important. I think this is where, if we were to look at it from a very uh, uh, deep lens today, and if I were to suggest in terms of how this whole timetable can be looked at, is we need to either integrate the life skills as part of the core subjects so that they become part and parcel of it, and right, or sufficient time should be given for extracurricular activities. I'm not just meaning about talking about sports, arts, and music and things like that, but also in terms of teamwork, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm listening.
Organization and things like that, right? So I think we need to integrate this much, much more. And that is some of the learnings that we had when we started developing a curriculum. We started developing the timetable for the entire 2025 sessions in academic year. And we also had to bring in psychologists because my background is in computer science, right? The minute you go into soft skills in terms of social, emotional well being, the questions that were raised were, okay, you are not a psychologist, you are not a counselor. How are you going to counsel students, right? If there was a problem in the class, if the students wanted to talk to you or your trainers or whatever it is. So what we did was we also brought in counselors and psychologists so that they not only look at our curriculum and content, and all the content were activity based, and children loved it, right? And each activity had its own content and an outcome. And along with it, what also happened, and we didn't envision this before, is as we started doing all these modules and activities on a session by session basis, some of the students who are very silent in the class, who do not talk much in the class, even when the teacher starts asking questions, they started to come to our trainers and to me, look, I have this problem. You covered this in this class. Can you tell me how I can solve my problem? Right? This was not counseling, it's more of mentoring. Right? That is also something that's when we realize, look, a counselor in a school has to also be part and parcel of the class so that he or she understands what the students are going through. And from their students' perspective also, they need to get that familiarity with that particular person so that they build the trust. Trust becomes extremely important for the children, right? They establish the trust with the teacher, but then an external person is going to come and train them on something which is beyond core academics. As a trainer, facilitator, you need to build the trust. Otherwise, you are not going to get full participation in the class, nor are the students going to be trusting you to come and share their problems or issues.
Fantastic. I think you brought about some beautiful points. I'll start with the last few points that you mentioned, building the trust. It's all about trust anywhere. Whatever you teach, wherever you go, it's the trust that works. And as you mentioned two things, life skills has to be integrated in the curriculum, and counselors can't be outside of, I mean, they cannot be while they have to be surrounding the system, they also have to be given be made a part and parcel of the system so that it's an integral thing. In fact, uh, one of the papers that we wrote on academics can take us only so far. Again, touches upon life skills, where we have recommended that while it's nice to have life skills classes, every class teacher should also impart life skills, whether they teach social sciences, English. I mean, they don't have to, what do you say, spend lots of minutes on it, but narrate one episode of their own failure, how they struggled, etc. So that will make them more relatable, so that the children don't have to feel all alone. But I mean, I debated a bit, but I just thought that how to integrate, every teacher should be a life skills teacher also. I mean, if we
Right.
can enable that to a small extent. And of course, the life skills teacher will focus deeply on the subject. And it's beautiful that you enabled a system where children opened up, which is the most important thing. So that's a huge success, if you ask me. And secondly, whatever you did, encourage them to come up to the teacher to ask them to solve other problems that they faced. So to me, it doesn't matter what the syllabus is. It is these two achievements that indicate a success of a program or an intervention that you tried. You made the children open up, and you also encourage them to ask questions and problems that they were feeling, which means you have established, you and your trainers have established the highest level of trust and faith in the children. So great. So wonderful to hear that. And of course, I'm able to relate to the first portion of what you said. Life skills, PT period, all getting beaten up or getting consumed by uncovered syllabus, right? Children, right from a young age, we are all used to PT period being compromised. As it is, children get only about 1 or 2 periods to play in a week. And even that will be consumed towards the end of during half yearly, quarterly time, because the other teachers haven't finished their syllabus. So which means they are given the least importance, or they are considered optional. But it's a sad part, but hopefully things will change with time. So that, but that's also very relatable from what all our experiences are. Now we'll move on to the third part of your journey prior to COVID, which is you emphasized sports, or rather, you believe that sports as a part of building character, personality, life skills. So can you talk a little bit about that part of the journey?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, this is something that uh, I did play active cricket while I was in Chennai. I was a first division player. I'm not saying it to uh, not from a boasting perspective or anything, because that played an important role for me to what I'm going to be sharing today, right? Because that being a player and having played competitive cricket, helped me to not only imbibe some of the life skills, but also in terms of how it helped me to shape the curriculum of the sports curriculum when we started doing that, right? It is interesting to go back and look at, why did we do this, right? Why did we also try to put physical education and sports and come up with an integrated curriculum? I do have a short presentation. I will walk you all through. But before that, I would like to say that while we were incorporating these life skills in the class, and many of the schools, we had close to about 50, 60 schools by year 3. And that we were doing on a yearly basis, right? And we had close to about 30, 35 trainers who were part and parcel of our, Catapult. Uh, while we were doing that, just like you pointed out, where some of the other periods like PT period and things like that were taken away, we were looking at all these life skills and activities and projects were mostly happening inside the class, right? Where we would take materials inside the class, we will do an activity, we will discuss, debate, we will do projects and things like that. And then sometimes we'd also do external projects. Then what we thought about as a collective team was, why don't we bring sports and we also into that mix and build life skills through that also, right? That was the starting point. Of course, in the first year, we didn't actively pursue it, but we were thinking about how to integrate it. We were also thinking how not to get into the shoes of the PE inspector, right?
Yeah.
Because what he or she is doing is extremely important in terms of that 1 or 2 periods that they get every week, right? So what I will do now is I'll just share my presentation. This will help in terms of how we structured the curriculum. And then I'll give you some examples in terms of how we integrated life skills and sports and physical education. Just sharing my screen.
Sure, definitely.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So this is Catapult. It's spelled Catapult. The meaning of Catapult is, if you were to go back to when you want to pluck mangoes from a tree, right? You use a catapult kind of thing where you put a small stone into it and then you pull it and then he goes and hits the mango that you want and it falls down, right? That is a catapult. So catapult is also used in war, where somebody, a bunch of soldiers want to cross a big, wall. Then they would use a catapult to actually go over the wall, right? Now, obviously, CATAPULT is the actual spelling of catapult. When we tried to register the private limited company, somebody else had already taken that. That is why we came up with a different spelling. Okay, and that's where Q comes in. There is no U to Q after Q. Many of the English teachers have a problem with us on a lighter note, because they would always ask me why there is no U after the Q, right? Because U always follows after a Q. So that's where catapult comes from. And as you can see, we have done various things. Let me just talk you through, before I even talk to you about our curriculum, right? Let me just touch upon NEP 2020, right? And talk about what it says about holistic and integrated learning, as well as, social and emotional well-being. You might have already seen it, so I'm not going to go over each and every segment of this. But basically, learning outcomes has to be there in any subject that you teach or train. There should be integration of subjects, as we talked about earlier or alluded to it, right? And emphasis on digital literacy, multilingual teaching, right? These are some of the things that we, NEP talked about, and many schools are practicing it now, right? The other thing it also talked about is the mental and physical health and well-being, right? Now, if you all can imagine, I know there are students in this group, there are professors in this group, there are teachers in this group, there might be some other from industry and things like that. If you were to imagine that you are going to interview a particular person for a particular role, right? What is the most important thing or set of things that you will be looking at, right? This is what I would be looking at. I hope this also aligns with what you would be looking at. One is, do they have the right technical knowledge, right? If I'm going to be interviewing somebody for, let's say, an accountant job, then they need to know accounting principles. They need to know some software like Tally or things like that, right? Plus, you also need to know on the other side whether they can communicate properly, right? Whatever they are saying, it's not about just saying, okay, I understand English or I can talk in English. It's also about whether I can actually talk in English in a manner that the other person understands and comprehends what I'm saying, right? That is all the life skills that we talked about. Beyond that, I also want this person, when he or she comes into the organization, that they don't take leave often for sickness, right? They are normal, healthy people, right? They do not have that many emotional problems, right? Either themselves or with the family, right? I'm not saying that you should not hire that person, but this is what you would be looking at, because we have seen, based on your experience and our experience, that especially in India, there are many people who take off on leave because they are sick often. Okay, they might have diabetes even at the age of 25. Currently, people are having heart attacks at the age of 25 and 30. Why? Because of stress, because they are not able to handle, because of untimely food, because of their other habits and many other things, right? One might be a great scholar. He might be very good in his own technical area. But if he is not showing up at the workplace, how good is that person actually going to perform and benefit the company? That is where the mental, physical health and well-being comes into play, right? So given all of this and having experienced that in my corporate world, that is when we came up with this comprehensive program after 4 years into our journey in Catapult. So 2012 is when we started. Around 2016-17 is when we came up with a comprehensive program called CAM 360. This covers not only the life skills, it also covers health and nutrition. It also covers sports. It also covers physical fitness, right? And when we went to the school with this program, they looked at it and said, look, how are you going to incorporate this into our schedule, right? And initially there were a lot of pushback, but what we did was, that is where we integrated this program as part and parcel of their existing timetable and showed them for the 40, 50 schools, about 5 or 6 schools, we showed them how it can be integrated without changing their timetable, and how it can be whatever we do in the classroom is also practiced outside in a playground. And what happens in a playground or in a game or a tournament or whatever it is brought back to the classroom and debated and also talked about, right? So that we can improve on our learnings and some of the improvements that we need to make. So I'm not going to go over the entire, if somebody is interested, we can always do it as a separate session. So these are the skills that we looked at. So what I showed you to the previous slide to this slide is going a little bit deeper. We structured this into an entire curriculum, and for grades, right from for physical education and sports, we said right from KG to 12th standard. And for life skills, we said we will start only from 3rd grade or 3rd standard. And we went all the way to 12th standard, right? Now, how did we do this? Apart from the one session a week in the classroom and integrating it, we also did a lot of projects, right? This is one project where the students in one of the schools in Chennai called AV Mayappan, we asked the students to collect milk packets every day from home, right? See, we all get milk packets every day. What we didn't know at that time, and we spoke to the Corporation of Chennai at that time, was you can actually convert and recycle milk packets and convert it into tar, right? So that it can be reused for roads, right? So this set of students of 8th standard collected almost about 8,800 packets, right? Convincing their parents, convincing their neighbors to say, please give us this is for this purpose. And they collected about 8,800 within 7 weeks. And we gave this to the Corporation of Chennai, as you can see on the right-hand side bottom one. And they gave a certificate to the school saying that, we acknowledge this, right? Acknowledge this. Now, this is another one that we did where we integrated the football as a competition as part of life skills, right? What we said was this happened during the World Cup football. At that time, I think it was 2017 or 18, I don't exactly remember. And at that time, what we said was, if it is not about football, right? You pick your own player that you admire. It might be a Ronaldo, it might be a Messi, it can be somebody else, right? You look at what they have done outside of football. Have they actually contributed to somebody's, an NGO? Have they done something good? Or have they been, in the field of play, have they actually demonstrated leadership, right? All the soft qualities that a footballer needs to play the game, right? And each one of them, they have to prove that this is what my, Messi or Ronaldo or whoever they chose did, and they have to come with evidence. And this was done over a period of time during the Olympics and after the Olympics. And whoever got the maximum number of points, they actually got a World Cup football. And they also got certificate. So it demonstrated a lot of thinking from their perspective to say, okay, it is not just about playing football, but there are also other things that happens in the football field, that a footballer should be aware of, right? I will take an example of how to integrate within core subjects, right? This is one example. I'm sure you can come up with many examples. I don't know how many of you follow Formula One, right? Formula One, we all know that it's a racing car, right? Now, initially, when I started, going through Formula One, and I was also looking at, okay, which car can race better and things like that. Slowly and steadily, and thanks to my sons, because both of them are into sports, they started explaining to me the technical details of Formula One, right? I will take this as an example. If some of you are actually practicing steam or STEM in yours, it is extremely valuable to look at Formula One, to look at cycling, to look at many other sports, to look at how mathematics, how science, how engineering, how arts can be part and parcel of your experiential learning in the class, right? So what is drag reduction system, right? Now, what you see on the left-hand side, it says DRS. There is a car with DRS. On the right-hand side, you see a car without DRS, right? Now, the difference between the two cars is not much, except that on the left-hand side, you see that there is a small window right here where there is a kind of a flap which is open, right? In this particular case, what happens is the car will go faster if there is reduction of the drag, which means the air should not pull it slower. So when you open the flap, and that is controlled by the driver of the car actually goes faster. Whereas on the right hand side, where the flap is closed, it doesn't. The second thing that I would like to point out in this is all the Formula One cars are very low, almost touching the floor. Why? Because they wanted to reduce the drag so that the air does not seep underneath it, right? And pull down this one, and it acts like a suction. The more suction it has on the floor, the faster the car travels, right? So there are many things in this aerodynamics. You talk about the material used in these cars, right? These are all aircraft material, so that they are all solid. They don't break because they are traveling at 350 kilometers an hour, right? Extremely high speeds, and you might have seen many crashes, right? So even art, the livery, they call it livery, Livery. That is also part and parcel. How do you actually, there are many sponsors, how do you actually put the livery inside the car, right? And where do you put them? That also is important, because where you put them also helps in the speed and drag reduction system. The second thing that you might have seen is, you might be wondering, if you would have seen a cycling race, as to why all these cyclists are traveling in line. Why aren't they racing against each other? Okay, they might be traveling, if you're seeing a Tour de France or whatever it is, right? There is something called a slipstream. When you are going behind another person at a relatively high speed, the person in front is actually blocking the amount of air that is coming for the riders behind. That means the riders behind actually are benefiting from that, and they can, with minimum effort, they can follow the leader, and they don't have to put that much emphasis on their pedaling. And that is also something Formula One cars also use. It is called a slipstream. When two cars are traveling at almost at the same speed, the car behind actually can travel faster, at least they say 15 to 20 kilometers higher than the car in front, and overtake the car in front. So if you didn't watch Formula One before, if you want to watch, currently there is a race going on in US, right, as we speak, right? And all these kinds of things are being used. Okay, we also have done a blind walk. right? To develop empathy within students, right? What we did here was 3, 4 schools participated in this, and we selected a day where all these school students would be blindfolded. All the students were blindfolded, as you can see on the top left corner, and they would follow 3 blind people. They were actually blind. We got them there. They followed them. That is why you see all the students putting their hands on the students up front, because they cannot see. And they traveled for about 2 kilometers, and then they took a pledge. And even some of the parents and people were on the street. They also came through, and they took a pledge to say, if I were to, once I leave this part of the world, I can pledge my eyes, right? Likewise, we had bank visits, we had football tournaments for parents, even for teachers and parents, and also for teachers, even for school sports, for the staff, right? Because they are also part and parcel, right? Sometimes we even forget our school staff. We also brought in from people, from Air Force and things like that. So this is how, let me stop the presentation here. This is how we integrated the curriculum. We kind of said, it cannot be in silos. Life skills cannot be in silos. PE sports cannot be in silos, right? Mathematics cannot be in silos. Science cannot be in silos. Because in the real world, these are not silos, right? We have to integrate all of this. And unless we start doing that from the young age, how are they going to learn? Let me stop there. And Karthik, I think I took a little longer, but I hope that was.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's phenomenal, Ram, what you have done. Really eye-opening, and I think a lot of us can draw inspiration and implement in our own small ways, even if some small parts of it get implemented, which is the entire objective of this series. It's not like you have to implement everything. Let's say the what do you say, milk cover, milk sachet. That was a very eye-opening thing. That is a very simple thing that can be done by every college or school. I would say school, or if a student goes to is a day scholar, he can do it. He or she can do it during their college days also. Socially responsible things. How simple things can make a difference, and of course the empathy walk, that's very much needed. Uh, a lot of us today are living in a very privileged world. We take things for granted. Uh, we need to develop more empathy, both as adults as well as inculcate in our own children. So that is a very nice, simple activity. Like what you said, the Formula One, how you can teach science and mathematics concepts. See, I've always believed that the more you are able to relate what you learn in the class with the world you see around, or more importantly, the world that you like. Like, for example, teaching through Doraemon for kids, teaching through Barbie, or teaching through whatever. Your role models are idols, cricket players, or sports, any which form. That creates a very positive association of the subject, even though the subject itself might be perceived as difficult or boring. The more you bring in these aspects of it, it becomes a lot more relatable and enjoyable for the student. So fantastic. It was long, but definitely worth hearing to all those experiences. Now, I think we have covered a good part of your journey in multiple dimensions, why you chose to give back, change your stream, what you did for life skills, and how you integrated sports. Before we go on to the next part of it, right, where you actually design those cue cards, which is what we advertised, or we created awareness. I think we'll open it up to the audience now. If they have any questions to ask on any of the aspects you have covered, let's open it up for like next 10 to 15 minutes. We have adequate time. So request the audience to feel free to post questions in any of the conversation so far. Ram will be able to answer it, and then we can. Right now it's around 10:50, close to 10:50. Maybe we can open it up to 10:11:05 or so, for another 15 minutes, and then we'll go into the next part. You'll also get to ask him questions towards the end of the session. So there's going to be another Q&A towards the end. So if in case you don't get a chance in the next 15 minutes, you always have more time. So over to you all. Anybody who wants to, so Malleshwari has raised her hand. We'll go in order one by one.
Uh, there was one slide in which one message was there. In the last but 3 slides, there was one big message. We couldn't read it. Can you just show it again?
Okay.
Last but 2-3 slides.
Yeah, let me just share the presentation first, and then you can tell me which slide you're referring to.
If you can go to the last slide and then come back.
Yeah. So let me just share.
Yeah, this one only, this one.
Oh, this one.
Can I take?
Is this the one, sir?
Yeah. Can I take this thing?
Yeah. Right. So this so this is basically done for the school staff of that particular school, right? Most often than not, the school staff are don't participate in many of the things that the parents, students, or even teachers participate, right? So they also wanted to, we wanted them to have fun at the same time, kind of also promote what they are doing, how it is important. What they are doing is important to the overall, schools, the way the schools are, and things like that. So we did conduct some sports related, activities for them, and this is basically a response to that, which is given in words.
Sir, I have another query. Rather, it's my curiosity. We talk of empathy a lot of time. Empathy only develops when the small children, they have a physical visualization of the attributes, those kind of attributes in their teachers. So have the teachers been trained to be empathetic throughout their course of teaching, during their course of teaching and all? I mean, because this is a sort of a sanskar which comes when I see my parents, when I see my teachers doing something. Unless my teachers do not show empathy in their day-to-day attributes, in their hourly attributes, so I think teachers are being trained for that also.
Right, absolutely. I think even Karthik, he alluded to this much earlier, saying that the teachers also, whether it is our own trainers who go to the schools and do the life skills classes, one of the things that we emphasize in the training program, whether it is to the teacher who takes up these life skills and does it in a class, or our own trainers, is they need to imbibe themselves to say, okay, I need to learn what empathy means, right? Because that is the question that the student can actually turn around and say, okay, you're not empathetic to me, why should I be, right? So you're absolutely right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question, sir. We have 3 more people who have raised their hands. Malleshwari, Nidhi, Venkatakrishnan, and Shweta. In fact, 4 people. Who wants to go first? Malleshwari, you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks, Karthik. I was thinking of this, sir, as you were presenting. So how difficult, or of course, I can't say it is easy, it should have been difficult. And how did it start for you? I mean, to convince these institutions that this is the offering I have, and to sign up for that as a commitment. Anything you would like to share on that part of the journey?
Yeah. It's not, you're right. It is not easy. It is extremely difficult. I did falter many times in terms of what would be the right strategy. And what I also came to the conclusion is not one strategy is the right strategy, and it cannot be one size fits all. Right? At the end of the day, I will answer this in two aspects. How did I start? Right? If I were to start today, let me also put this that if I were to start today, I would always look at a low-hanging fruit. What I mean by that is, if I'm trying to convince a school leader who is actually going to invest in this and get this program inside his or her school, then I need to start with somebody whom I know or whom somebody can introduce me to, who has the trust in that person. See, it's all about trust.
Yeah.
Right? That is one way of doing it. What initially I did was to look at how we can offer this for free to start with, to try it out. Right? Now, very soon I realized nothing comes free in life. Right? I'll take about 10 seconds to explain that. Now, there are, in education industry itself, there are government schools and there are private schools. There are private colleges, there are government colleges, right? Government colleges and government schools are traditionally funded by the government, while the CSRs are also available, CSR funds are also available through the companies to give that 2% of their profits and things like that, right? That is an additional thing. But somebody is paying. Either the government is paying through the tax payers, or the CSR companies are paying. Right? Similarly, in a private school, it is the parents who are paying. So what we decided was that we will give to the school for free for about 3 months or 4 months. We discussed that on a school by school basis, and then we said at the end of 3 months, this is the success criteria that you should define right now. If this is successful in 3 months, then this is the cost that you are going to pay. If not, we will just leave as it is, and we would not continue with the program.
Wow, wonderful.
Right? Because that is a learning from my my previous journey in software industry. Right? When you are looking at milestones, you are looking at objectives and goals and what you want to achieve in a product or a service, you always define the objectives and the success criteria. If you don't have the success criteria, then you do not know what you're shooting for.
Wonderful.
Great. Thank you, Maleshwari. Any other things you had to ask?
No, that's all. Thank you so much. It's profound.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, we'll go on to the next people who raise their hands. Venkata Krishnan Hariharan, do you want to go next?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Sir, especially in schools, children's nowadays we are seeing that children are submitting assignments and other projects and everything. But what happens today nowadays is that everybody is using ChatGPT. No creativity in themselves. Everything is dependent on Babas, Google Baba, like that. No, is that any yardstick we can bring in, not only for the students but also the teachers? Teachers making question papers also same in ChatGPT. My son takes one question paper and insert in ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to give 10 question paper. It gives. So next term the same question is coming.
It's a question I think a lot of parents have, right? So
no, even the teacher,
luckily, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Please, sir. Your views on that.
Please finish your question.
Yeah. So, is that creativity building any specific activity or creativity building in both the students as well as the teachers? Because is that anything is there in gamification or something, whatever it is, methodologies?
Correct. Sir, are you asking this question as a parent or a teacher?
Both, sir.
Okay, because my answer will differ. So that's why I'm saying.
No,
right?
Yeah, please.
Right. So this is my perspective, right, based on my experience again. You are right. Absolutely. There is a lot of, I would say, hype in the system in terms of artificial intelligence. There are many people who have already practiced AI today. Even as late as 2 days ago, Sundar Pichai came back and said, don't believe what AI does, what AI, right? So, but we get carried away. When I say we, collectively, we get carried away with many things, right? And students do not know better because they don't have the experience and knowledge and hindsight that we have, right? Teachers also are in a different frame of mind because they have to complete their portions, and any time that they can save by using ChatGPT or whatever it is, rather than sitting and actually thinking to say, these are my set of students, this is the kind of environment that they live in, what kind of questions, given this particular topic or whatever that I need to look at, what sort of questions should I answer, should I actually ask in my question paper, right? And what is important for the students to demonstrate to me that they have understood the subject or the topic, right? Now, whether it is practice in real life or not, I'm not going to get into that, right? Ideally speaking, this is what we need to get into. Now, AI, to some extent, it is important, but there is a lot of people who have already said that, look, you have to think on your own rather than use AI. AI can be a tool which, if you are stuck, you can ask for it, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision, right? Now, bringing in creativity or problem solving or any of the other skills, if you, again, let me divide this into how a teacher should be looking at, how a parent should be looking at, right? Now, most of the parents or all parents are involved in their child's development, right? If certain things are something that is not yet developed in the child, then are there other activities, that extracurricular activities that they can do based on the interest of the child, where these additional skills can be developed? Be it sports, be it art, be it music, be it various other things. But in today's world, I feel that the children have to basically define what they want. Because even at 5th grade or 4th grade, today's children know what exactly they want. As opposed to when I grew up, I didn't know what I wanted until college or even after college. So, right? So you are facing a different challenge today than what happened maybe 2-3 decades ago, right? I think these are the considerations that we need to look at. We need to look at it from a teacher's lens, whether she has the time, why is she doing this, right? Can creativity be brought inside the class in terms of question paper? Yes, absolutely. Gamification, I think we have an expert in Karthik. He is better placed to answer that question than I am. But definitely, that can be done. All right. So everything is possible. At the same time, we also have to look at the constraints. And as a parent, are you getting what you want for the children? Does your child also is happy doing those things that you want the child, you want them to do? That becomes far more important in today's world.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Oh,
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, to a level. See, what happens during my childhood also. So normally we start our learning like when we start, teacher starts on the left-hand side corner, please write date and write today's date. So one of the teacher kindled us in the college. Why date is called date? Have you ever thought? So then we were perplexed to see that, why we have never thought why my name is Venkat, why date is called date. So then he answered, day and time evolved. That is why date is called date. So that kind of thinking is now missing. Now everything is based on the curriculum or something. When they come to the real world, the skill world, where they have chartered accountants, we are seeing a lot of people, chartered accountants or so-called IITians and so many things. When come to practical, nothing is there. Maybe a chai wala, golgappe wala is doing better than what they are doing.
Absolutely.
So there is where the creativity part is missing. That's what, if anything, you feel that okay, this could have been done better, you can share it with your experience. That will be great. Even Karthik
Yeah,
sir.
definitely. I think what you're pointing out is something that today's generation has to be, they need to look at it. It also has to come from within. At the same time, as parents, teachers, and educators, we also have to nudge them to say, look, this is the environment that we are giving you, right? In this environment, you can do all these things. Go and try this out, right? Sometimes it is better to even go to the extreme to say, look, I'm not going to give you ChatGPT. I'm not going to give you an AI tool. Here's the problem. How would you solve it? Whether individually or as a group.
Very true, sir.
Then go and look at ChatGPT. Are you better off than ChatGPT? Most often than not, as of today, I think we will be better off than ChatGPT because or any AI tool, because the AI tool today does not have the context that the child might have,
True.
right? So that demarcation and clarity is very important to share with the children so that they understand.
Fine, sir.
So just adding on, that was a very good question, but I think that needs a separate discussion by itself. Okay, that's a question not just with you, but with many of us in the society. We'll organize a separate session on that. Okay. Um, I mean, that's why I'm not answering anything in particular. A lot of things are being done. Like every technology, always comes with good and bad. I'll just take half a minute more to answer, and then we'll move on to the next question. So, is social media good or bad? It depends on the user. Internet good or bad? Mobile good or bad? It's always subjective. So, similarly, um, at one point of time, anytime a technology comes, we hype it, or the world hypes it, like the people. Then we slowly realize that it is not that great. We also realize that it is also not bad at some point of time. We have not got yet to that stage where we can decide it is good or bad. We know that it is not perfect, yet it offers value, but it will evolve with time and achieve a steady state where people know, okay, I can use it for this. I should not use it for these. So that we are passing through the stage where the Gen AI is maturing, and therefore these questions will continue to worry. But I'm sure in a few months or at least a year or two, we will reach the stage where we'll know how to use it meaningfully. I'll stop with that. And going on to the next two people who raised their hands, I know we are beyond 11:05, but Ram, I hope it's okay if we go on till
Sure.
11:15. 11:15,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
stop. Okay.
Yeah,
So the two other people who raised their hands were Nidhi and Shweta. We will
Yes,
cover
sir.
their questions and then go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. I'm Shweta here. I would like to speak on.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. A very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, I heard sir saying that before you were an employee and then you thought of switching to this soft skill content, okay, and raise up your further lifespan in that molding children and the employees in a better way. That's actually a great decision you have taken, and I'm too in such a field, in a education field, looking the children from the standard 8 till 12, okay, going with a different mentality, understanding potentials and all. I observe that only the children who actually are nurtured very well with some sanskars and all at home, basically from home itself, can perform very well in school and colleges. They do not get attached to or bother about all the distracting things. Okay, this is what comes a part of empathy, and this empathy is very well felt by those students when they play on ground, when they carry out any activity in class, when they learn a lesson, any language lesson or mathematical lesson, science lesson. They can correlate with the subject, whatever is known to them. This is just because of the qualities that they have in them. but there is a 50% of this class you will find everywhere distracted with n numbers of activities, so it becomes very difficult. And these life skills which we try to inculcate among the children nowadays, it can be easily done taking help of this nurtured students or children, and the 20% of those who are distracted. And we can carry out an activity in every lesson, language especially, I'll say, in language, to present something that you have grabbed very well from this lesson. So we come to know obviously what that child has focused on. After this, you have to carry out one activity from of your own. Let the dialogues go wrong grammatically or anyway, and so the child will remain attentive and try to inculcate some good activities. That is what we focus critical thinking, creative thinking in
Correct.
our skills, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
this can be done because one lesson we take 5 days, taking with
Mm-hmm.
the stepwise NEP policy wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, the previous knowledge, then teaching, and then question answer.
Right, right. So
And
you
then
might have
activity.
your own curriculum or a timetable in terms of how long you want
Yes,
to put.
yes, yes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we can keep that one lecture for activity where the child will come up with some of the qualities in them, and this will very well help it. This is what my conclusion is regarding the skills that should be inculcated among the students.
Good, good, good. So I didn't hear any specific question, but
Yes.
just to
So
respond
am
to
I
you.
right to this? This is what I would like to know from your answer.
Okay,
If
no,
this is
see, there
working
is
very
nothing right
perfectly.
or wrong,
Mm.
right? As long as you believe that what you are doing is uh, right, and the person who's receiving it, whether it is the student or the teacher or whatever, if you're doing a teacher
Mm.
training, if you're doing a student training, if they are able to receive it, they are able to imbibe it, incorporate it in their life, and you see the outcomes from that, then what you're doing is correct, right?
Yes, sir.
So there is no right or wrong in life skills as such. We just look at the environment and exposure to look at which what they would need in that particular uh, time frame, and whether we can help them to train themselves better, right? Life skills is all about facilitation so that they themselves look at it from their lens to say, okay, I'm in this environment, I'm in this household. How can I change? How can I improve? How can I incorporate these skills, right? And we are just facilitators from that perspective.
Yes, sir.
Now, the
Yes.
overlying, hats off to you if you are doing that and you continue to do that. Now, one
Thank
thing
you.
that I would like to point out based on what you said is, see, we always look at a statement which says, we will take the horse to the water and let the horse drink
How
it.
drink it?
Correct? Now, I'm going to slightly change that statement.
Yes, sir.
Okay? If we can make the horse thirsty, what will happen?
Obviously, he'll go in search of water.
Exactly. So you take that to the students,
Yes,
right? How do we bring that thirst in students?
actually.
If we are
Yes, sir.
able to achieve that, then automatically they will search for answers.
Extremely right. Yes, I
Thank you.
agree. Yes,
Thank you
thank
for
you,
your
sir.
question.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you, Karthik, sir.
Yeah, most welcome. We'll take only one more question. I know a couple of you are interested in asking question, but in the interest of time, we will have only Nidhi ask the question now. The rest of you, you will get chances for the last 15-20 minutes of the session. Okay. So don't worry. You will get another opportunity where we'll open it up for the audience. Over to you, Nidhi.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karthik sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ramprakash sir. It's really nice to be a part of this great group. I know there is a paucity of time, so I'll be very, very quick in terms of my question. I think, sir, there is a parts of it that Maleshwari has already asked and you have already answered. But I'll just quickly mention my question pertains to three specific aspects. Okay, sir. One is that, when unlike other subjects where you have a specific curriculum as per the ministry of HRD or the education ministry, or what are you going to cover. But when you talk about soft skills or life skills, there is so much that you want to teach. how do you really, gist down the areas you want to touch given in a specific, session or your, class? That's number one. And,
Mhm.
coming from a training background myself in, for corporates, I know that everybody wants to know that, okay, this is your learning objective, but how are you going to really assess whether your people have, your students have learned that or not? So when you know what are the areas you are covering, then only you can talk about, how are you going to see or assess what they have learned. And finally, the financial aspects of it, because, as you say that nothing comes free, that's true. And at times I have seen that when you do not attach any monetary value to something, people do not take it, seriously. They think it's okay even if we, don't go by that or we don't attend that. So how do you handle all these three aspects when you started?
Good questions. I'll give you very brief answers.
Sure.
Curriculum, there is in the last decade or so, I think there is a lot of curriculum that is available. You search on SEL, social emotional learning. All these are freely available. And that is one part of it. But what is more important that you would, I would advise you is to look at the requirements from the customer, understand the requirement. So if the customer does not provide you the requirement, look at the current environment, current climate, where, for example, the other person, I think Mr. Venkatakrishan asked about AI and things like that.
Yeah.
In this AI environment, what are the skills that are necessary, right? Because life skills or soft skills or anything is going to change. The skills themselves are not going to change. The emphasis on certain skills will change based on the environment you are in. The context is very, very important, right? If you're doing it within India, the language, the cultural aspects become very important. So context becomes very, very important. What you did today may not be something that you would do in about a year's time or 2 years' time, right?
Right.
On your second question, that also kind of dovetails into the assessment part of it. So if you know what your requirements are, then in project-based activity or certain activities, you can always attach rubrics and things like that, which can help you to see whether the students have understood, right? This is not about marks, whether they've got 50% or 60%. It's more of their understanding and how they demonstrate that knowledge,
Yeah.
right? That is where competency-based education actually comes in, which NEP talks about, right? Are you competent enough to understand what empathy means? Can you demonstrate that? That is competency, right? It is not in theory, right?
Yes.
How do you demonstrate empathy? That is going to be your basis for your assessment. Third, in terms of financial, yes, India has always been and will continue to be a country where if you quote X, they will ask you for half of X,
Yeah.
right? That is always going to be there. There have been strategies before I have gone through where you give them 3 times than what you would propose. Instead of 100 rupees, you will say 300 rupees and finally end up with, they will pay 100 rupees. That is, I moved away from that. I will say, this is what it costs, 100 rupees. If you want to pay for it, you will get this. If you don't pay for it, we move away.
Hmm.
I hope I have answered the question. If you
Yes, sir.
want any details of this, we can always connect offline.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Ram. Thank you to all of you who asked the questions. And I know that some of you are still waiting to ask questions. Um, in the interest of time, there's another part of Ram's journey which I wanted you to all be aware of, which is what we'll cover in the next 15-20 minutes. And then once again, open up the floor for questions. And Ram, we'll get started with your
Sure.
QCards journey.
Yeah.
So post-COVID, you kind of stopped the sports part of the activities because of the constraints of the environment. And you moved into this learning assessment, attendance, and making children participate in the class in even low-tech environments. So please walk us through that journey and also the specifics of what you're offering.
Great. Thanks. So, um, when pandemic hit, we had close to about, I would say, 70, 80 schools that we were working with in multiple states on life skills and physical education and sports. Obviously, during the pandemic, we couldn't do much. The trainers and facilitators had to basically twiddle their thumbs, so to speak. But for physical education sports, 1 or 2 schools were interested in online training. We did some online training, but many of the trainers and facilitators, they didn't have a livelihood, right? So unfortunately, we had to let them go. And many of them had to go to an entirely different industry to earn their livelihood. Now, post-pandemic, we didn't want to again start from scratch in terms of going to the schools with the life skills and sports. What we decided was that we would offer them to schools for a cost and train them, but we will not send our own trainers and facilitators, right? Because many of the schools, they already had a physical education teacher. They already had a counselor. What we thought was, why don't we train them, right? So that we will give the curriculum, we'll give the timetable, we'll give the activities and things like that for a cost, one-time cost, so that they can take it up. And if they need any changes to that, they can always come back to us. And it was, I would say a few schools took it and they were happy with it. Now, around the same period, there were a couple of NGOs that I was working with, right? One of them, you might probably know, is called Agastya International Foundation. They are a very big NGO who are doing amazing work in areas of, they started with science almost about 25, 30 years ago. And they had these science kits that they would take it to government schools and rural villages. They will do activity-based science on heat, electricity, and things like that. It's all experiential learning, DIY kind of activities. And they started that. And then now they have, in 20 to 30 years, they have their own center in Kuppam in Andhra Pradesh. Plus, they are covering almost about 10 lakh children. The problem that I encountered, and they also shared with me, was they did a lot of assessments, right? When they go and do their activity, let's say heat today, in one particular school, they had to do a pre-assessment to see where the children are. It's called a baseline test, right? And then they would do the activity, and then at the end of the activity, they would see whether the students have understood that particular activity and the learning outcomes have actually come out in the students. So they would do a post-assessment. Okay. Now, most of these schools, or almost all these schools, are government schools in 12, 13 states with no electricity and no computer, no projector in the classroom, except the teacher had only a mobile phone. Now, what they used to do until 2 years ago was to give paper pencil assessments, right? And then the children would actually write their answers, give it to the teacher will correct it, put it into an Excel sheet and send it back to their headquarters in Bangalore. And imagine they are working with 6,000 schools. 6,000 schools, just imagine the scale at which they are operating, all this paper and sending it back. It took them 3 months to even come to an analysis of how the students have performed. It took them 3 months. If they started in June, until September, they didn't know where the students stand. Right? Again, they would be continuously doing that. That is when we came up with a solution called QCards. It looks like this. I'm just showing this on video. A QCard is nothing but in the center there is a QR code kind of thing, right? It is not a QR code. It is called a fiduciary marker, and it's a hexagonal shape. And each of these have each of the vertices have A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so there are 6 options in this. Okay, now it is similar to your KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati, right? Except that in Kaun Banega Crorepati, you have clicker device, which is a clicker which has A, B, C, D. where a question is put up on KBC on the screen, and then the audience will poll on their clicker device, and Amitabh Bachchan will say, okay, A has the maximum 80% of the audience have participants have selected A. It is very, very similar concept, except that you cannot have a clicker device in the classroom because it is too expensive. That is when we came up with a plastic card with unique QR code and with a number on that, which is unique to that particular student in that particular class, right? In this case, let's say 6A, and you are doing mathematics, you as a teacher. Now, what is going to happen is I'm going to show you the app that will scan the cards, and this works while I bring up the app. This works without internet also, because we had to invent something or create something that can work even in government schools where internet is not available. Okay, let me just show. Yeah, I hope you are all able to see my mobile phone. This is the app that we developed, and this basically, this is only a teacher app, right? And I am the teacher. I am in Sharda Shri Public School. I have all these 8 classes. The number of assessments that I have is 33. I have completed 2 of them. This is just an example, right? Now I want to go and assess the students on mathematics. I am in 6B class, right? I can do 2 things with this app. It's a very simple app. I can do 2 things. I can take attendance without calling names. I don't have to call names of the students and then they say hi sir, yes sir, no sir, all those things, right? I can take an assessment for multiple choice, true or false, or even Likert scale based questions. Let me just quickly demonstrate for the next 2-3 minutes. I click on 6B mathematics. The number of students in this class is 30. This card is given to each and every student of those 30. So this carries card number 7. Likewise, I would give in a pack of 50 cards we have, and this is what we give to the teacher, right? This has cards from 1 to 50. Of course, in this class, there is only 30 students. Let's go and see how these cards are distributed. I click on students, and you see that card number 1 is associated with Aishwarya, card number 2 is associated with Apurva, and so on. All the 30 students are allocated already. This is pre-allocated. Now, if I were to go to some other class, let's say 7B, there are 32 students in the class, but I am the only teacher. I can take the same set of cards, but then the students there will be different. The card number will be the same, the QR code, everything will be the same, but then the student numbers are different. So you can use one set of cards across all your classes. Okay? Now that the students have got all their cards, let's take attendance for today. Okay? I have in front of me, I have a board just to simulate how the students are going to show their card. Each of these students are going to show their card, right? And I'll tell you how they are going to show the card. I'm going to click on attendance here. The calendar opens up. You only take attendance for today. You cannot take attendance for yesterday. You cannot take attendance for tomorrow. If I go to 21st, that attendance button itself goes off. That is how attendance are taken today also, right? In physical classrooms. I'm going to click on attendance now. The camera opens up and all these 30 students are there. I just scan the cards, attendance taken. I can preview it and it says 6 present and 24 absent because I have only 6 cards that I showed, right? Now this camera can detect up to 25-30 feet in a class. So a teacher can actually be in the front of the class and each of the students can show their card, and all you have to do is just scan from the front of the class and it will capture these responses immediately within a matter of seconds. Just imagine you're a government school teacher, you don't have internet, right? You have this device, you don't want to call out names. You just ask the students to raise their card and submit it. It is done. Now, since there is internet, I'm able to show you this. If I switch off internet, this I cannot show you, demonstrate this, but trust me, it works without internet. We are already doing this in about 8,000 schools, right? Now, that is on attendance. Now, assessment is basically you click on the assessments and there is an active state and a completed state. These are all the topics for this particular class, 6th grade, mathematics, that I have loaded. You can load any question, any subject. You can even load language questions, right? As long as it is an objective type question, right? There are 3 types of questions. Multiple choice, you can get up to 6 options in multiple choice. That is why there is A, B, C, D, E, F. You can get a true or false. False is F and true is C, okay, in the same card. And then there is also something called a Likert scale based questions, especially for life skills and all, where there is no right or wrong answer, right? You might have gone through the survey where the survey would ask, okay, strongly agree to strongly disagree. That is called a Likert scale based question, right? That can also be done in this. You can do polls. If you're a trainer going to school, you can do polls with the students. You can do survey with parents, right? So this, what it does, just think about it as a teacher, right? You are actually trying to get the students to tell you in some form or shape whether they have understood the topic that you are teaching, right? Very simple stuff, right? You are teaching, let's say, ratios to a 6th grade, or even in college, you are teaching somebody some particular topic. Now, how do you know whether the students have understood what you have taught them? At the end of the class, when you leave the class. Today, what is happening is, you ask the student a question, right? Either put it up on the board or you ask them verbally, and then only a few students raise their hand, and it might be mostly the same set of students who would raise their hand. Why? Because they have fear of saying, if I say the wrong answer, everybody will laugh. Or the teacher might say, oh, what is this? You didn't even understand this, right? Or they may not have paid attention to the class. They would keep quiet. Or they would have thought, okay, somebody else will always answer, why should I even answer? What this does is, this is a non-intrusive way of showing my response without opening my mouth, without giving my emotions away, a non-intrusive way of showing to the teacher, this is my answer. Then the teacher is able to say, okay, 40% of the class haven't understood this, let me take the remedial immediately. Right? Again, I'm trying to address a problem that many of the schools have. Today, a particular topic is taken on ratios, for example. It is taken for 2-3 periods. At the end of the period, a unit test is given. It's already next week. At that time, if the teacher realizes that the students haven't understood division, which is required for ratios, then you have to go back and actually fix that problem. But would the teachers have time to fix that at that point of time? Not many don't. Not many do. That is why the students actually go to the tuition centers, right? That is one of the reasons. I'm not saying that is the reason. That is one of the reasons. Why can't the teacher in the class itself, using this technology, be able to immediately remedy the problem or the issue in the next class, right? That is where QCards come in. And I'll quickly demonstrate how it works. So I've already completed the first question. In this case, I can see the results, right? Now I'm going to take the second question. The second question is, Shrutri bought biscuits for some 51 rupees. She gave 100 rupee note to the shopkeeper. How much amount she got back from the shopkeeper? There are 4 options, 48.75. Now, obviously, the students have to work this out on pen and paper, but all they have to do is, if they think that D is the right answer, as per them, all they have to do in the card is to show D at the bottom. Whichever letter they show at the bottom of the card is what the app will capture. Okay. Let me demonstrate this. I'm going to click on assess. I'm going to scan. As it scans, it also tells me the letter that they have chosen. As you can see, only 4th student. I will click on preview, and it shows that only one student with D response, which is the right answer. I click on that. Only Tirand Gowda with that particular card number has chosen the right answer. So within 30 seconds or 40 seconds, a teacher is able to immediately say, oh, out of 6 students, only 1 student has understood. This technology can be used. I repeat, this technology is used for conceptual understanding, which is a big part of competency-based education, because if you do not understand the concepts, how would you actually go to make them understand bigger topics in the same ratios or whatever it is, or any other topic or subject, right? Concepts, we always, as teachers and educators, we always talk about conceptual understanding, right? If your concepts are very, very good, then you can put 2 or 3 things together and get to the higher level of understanding. That is exactly what this QCards is trying to do. This is not for summative assessments. This is not for doing a formal test. This is to get, just like you go to a doctor and say, okay, I have fever. Immediately what the doctor does, he takes a pulse. He takes your heartbeat. This is just a pulse of your class. Nothing else, right? Which you can quickly find out. Of course, it has multiple uses. There are different use cases to that. And once you submit it, it records it. Even if the internet is not there, the teacher does not have to do anything. And they can just close the app. And when the internet is available on the phone, it will automatically sync to the server. So just imagine, as an educator or a principal or a professor or whoever it is, you have schools in multiple places, you have colleges, or you are doing your training programs in different places, or your company is doing multiple training programs or whatever it is. You want to know what happened that particular day, right? This is helpful to find out, sitting in one location, what all happened in those schools and locations. Now, coming back to Agastya, where I started, that 3 months that they took in terms of getting the data and all those things, they are getting it on the same day. That is the productivity gain that they have got from this tool, right? And they are able to analyze, they are able to change the curriculum and content dynamically, so that the teachers, if they find that there is a particular trend, they are able to go back and change the trend, right? So there are many other features to it, but these are the main features. There is also a web front end. You can actually have dashboards and things like that. But currently, this is run in close to about 7,000 schools across multiple states. And let me stop there and see whether Karthik has any other additional points that I haven't covered.
Thank you, Ram. I think it's beautiful hearing to you for the 3rd time in the last 2-3 months, and every time I learn newer things. So just for the benefit of all, the very first time we met about 2 months back, when I learned about what Ram was doing, I thought it is something that has to be taken to every classroom. Ram says that he's working with NGOs, which is understandable. Definitely they need it. But I'll just like to add on one thing. Psychological safety is the word used, and Ram used a similar related word, non-intrusive inquiry, discussion with the children, right? It's a universal phenomenon. It is there. It's a challenge in CBSE school, private school, everywhere. Because let's just imagine every classroom has children who have different affinity towards the subject. Some may be good in maths, some may be good in theory subjects, some may be good in history. But invariably, every child will have its likes and dislikes, and perceived difficulties and biases created by the society, and all those aspects are influencing their ability to connect with the subject and the teacher. Now, as Ram pointed out, some teachers are empathetic, some teachers, even the most empathetic and kind teachers, right? Imagine you're sitting as one student in a class of 50. It is so overwhelming to give even the correct answer. Even you have to think 100 times, what will my friends think? What will the teacher think? What if I go wrong? What if I go right also? You'll not believe. Going right also, the other, if it's a good student, the other friends may tease. Hey, he or she always answers the correct answer. She's trying to be the pet of the teacher. All those, I mean, I'm sure you'll all be able to relate. Soft bullying of different kinds is prevalent in classrooms, whether it's in schools, colleges. Uh, so bringing that psychological safety is extremely essential. And Ram has brought out in this form of this beautiful tool. Um, See, some of you who have worked in corporates or even in colleges might be familiar with what is called Mentimeter, Slido, etc. You might have heard of those tools. They precisely provide the same benefit. I always advocate them as a part of my faculty development program that I do for schools and colleges. And the only disadvantage, although they are free, is that they need Wi-Fi, they need power, electricity connections, and therefore they can be only used in certain kinds of environments. Whereas most schools discourage use of technology, which is understandable, excepting some probably international schools, etc. And therefore we need a low-cost technology which is paper-based and where the teacher can rely upon only the mobile, provide a psychologically safe environment, and here you go, you have such a tool available. So I was super impressed, and I thought this should spread to as many institutions as possible. Because more than the tool, I would say, Ram spoke about the productivity of the teacher, which is very important. I would say providing the psychological space and safety to the students is even more important or equally important. And that's exactly what this tool achieves. So, Ram, you've covered it beautifully from me. I think you've covered whatever best is possible. I think now we can open it up to the teachers and participants of this forum for question and answers.
Sure.
Over to you. Please raise your hand and start asking questions if you have any related to this tool or any other part of the workshop. We have about 20 more minutes.
Okay, I just wanted to add there are some questions in the text messages.
Oh, I see. Okay. Can some of you read through it because I'm logged in and I'm unable to see?
Yeah, let me do that. Yeah, let me do that. I have it. Thanks for pointing it out. Okay. Yeah, so I will start with Rima. This is not pertaining to QCards, but I'll start from there. Hello, sir. How to integrate soft skills for UG students with majors in physics, chemistry, and psychology? Any ideas to take it forward? I think I kind of covered in that Formula One and things like that. Definitely, it can be incorporated. It's all about imagination, right? Next one, Krishna Kumar. During my schooling days, there used to be SUPW, yes, socially useful productive work. That's what it was called, SUPW, which was mandatory. Unfortunately, these days, there's nothing like these. SUPW, yes, it has morphed itself, or I would say it has changed itself into life skills and soft skills and things like that. Part of it is what we did in SUPW is basically project-based learning and things like that, which should be incorporated across subjects, not just in life skills, but it can also be incorporated. The second question that Mr. Krishna Kumar asked was making students visit rural areas, colonies, and making them interact with the workmen will open up a whole new world to them and help them understand the various lifestyles. The constraints are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Experiential learning is needed. The schools have to take that initiative to say, how can they go and visit them, right? There are organizations who provide this as an external program, even beyond school, so on entrepreneurship programs and things like that, where they can go and do that. So there are programs out there. It all depends on the time availability and the kind of program that you are looking at. Next comes Prakash Almeida. Education today is more exam focused and Marxist. What students know is valued more than what they feel. The emotional part is never assessed and considered. Parents want more and more at marks and exams. How to get buy-in from parents for going beyond the textbooks and grades and exams? How to get their involvement in all-round development, including life skills? Sir, I think it's an age-old question, right? I myself have thought about it long and hard. Many parents think about it. Many school leaders think about it. It is not a simple answer there, but there is a policy part of it. There is an individualistic part of it, right? From a policy standpoint, or even from a government standpoint, just think about it. I'm not saying the government should change their approach. What if, or even the companies for that matter, let's start with the companies, right? Why do companies go to colleges to recruit, right? What if the companies say, number one, look, this is my criteria for selection. And it can become almost like a universal standard to say, these are the skills that I'm looking at, hard skills, soft skills. Until you meet this criteria, I am not going to recruit from there. Then what happens is the colleges automatically have to adhere to that, right? Which means the college is going to put pressure on the schools to say, look, unless you get them to this levels or skills or whatever it is, I will not be able to take them into colleges, right? What is happening today and for many decades so far is we are doing the reverse, where the schools, I'm not trying to pinpoint a problem here. I'm not trying to say that schools are bad, colleges are bad, or whatever it is. I'm just trying to think differently. To say, if the schools are going to, today what is happening, or even last few decades, the schools are producing what they produce without thinking about the colleges, because that is not their responsibility, right? Colleges are doing whatever they are doing. It is not their responsibility to actually put them into the corporate world and see the productivity gains that the corporates have, right? This is the bigger problem. It has to be tackled at various levels. The other pointer that I would like to take in this is, you keep India aside for a second. You look at various other countries, especially the Western countries. They do not have placements. They expect the student, the candidate, to search for internships, get those internships, and also get jobs. They don't have formal, programs in colleges where the college, the companies come to the colleges and recruit. It is up to the individual to do that. When you create that agency, what is called an agency within the student or the candidate, then I am looking for a job. I will try to see how I am better than some other candidate who is going to be chosen. Okay, so those are the few things that I can think of. I think Krishna Kumar, I think you have a couple of more questions there, but I will probably give others a chance before I come back to your questions. Anything on the Q cards?
Now the floor is open. The existing questions have been addressed. So
yeah,
you can...
a couple of one. Yeah.
Whether the Q cards will help for the, what you can say, the mental ability of a person, because nowadays we are seeing there's so much of things happening around us. Means now recently I just read there was a boy who came with a gun and he just shot his friend. Okay, these are the things, many things which is happening around the India or many countries, we can say. how can we understand, will this help us like understanding what is happening within the child's mind, what is happening, what is going through the problems like.
Correct. Now, it's a good question. I will answer it in a slightly different way. Who are the stakeholders for the student, right? When I say stakeholders, who are connected with the student on a day in, day out basis, right? The
Parents or
child, the parents, the teachers in the school, their friends, right? And possibly the school principal, and that is the second level, but mainly the teachers, their friends, and their parents and families. Correct? Now, you are talking about 2, 3 environments here. There is a school environment, there is a home environment, then there is an external environment which is neither home nor schools. Right? Now, somewhere I think the teacher in the school or teachers in the school and the parents in the school, through parent-teacher conference or various forums, need to look at individual child, because the parent is going to a parent-teacher conference to look at how is my child performing, right? Not only in terms of the subjects, but also whether he is behaving in the class and things like that. Now, the teacher's responsibility as a class teacher and also as a subject teacher is to look at how are my students beyond the subjects, right? To the earlier point, I think somebody asked before was, how can we train the teachers to observe these kinds of behavior shifts, right? Then you have the counselor in the school. How the counselor can be part and parcel of that environment, not just be a counselor only when the student has a problem. See, we need to be proactive in understanding the problem, unearthing the problem. Unless we are proactive in unearthing the problem, these problems will still exist in the society where people will take extreme cases, go to extremes and do something wrong, right? I think as a society, we need to be looking at who are the stakeholders, what is their responsibility, what is their accountability, how do they unearth these kinds of behaviors and try to help the students in such a way that they follow the right path, right? And that is very, very important to address as we get into this AI world where you can go to school as a student, you can come back home, close your door and be talking to an AI and not be connected with the world at all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have Ajit Gaikwadji and Krishna Kumar who have raised their hands for the next set of questions.
Yeah, should I ask? Krishna sir is asking.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, I just wanted to ask, since your program is impacting students in school age, do you have any maybe informal or any evidence on how have these students done after they are passed out from the school? Any long-term impact of your program?
Right.
Any feedback or
Good
any metric, whatever.
Correct. No, it's a good question. We are not directly working on that, to be very honest with you. Some of our current customers are looking to it because if you take QCards for example, right? We have given them a product that they can use in various different ways to get the responses from the student and measure impact, right? So one of the things that we are also trying to help them from a technology perspective is to show them the trends, right? That is one part of it. The second part of it is, unless we track those students beyond schools to see how they are doing in colleges and post that in terms of the society, that is something that has to be done by those organizations where we are giving this tool. We don't Yet, though we have been thinking about it, I don't think we have started from that perspective, for the sole reason that the data privacy also comes into play, right? Can we start? Then we need to get concurrence from the candidate, from the students. Now, as we speak, there is a DP80 Act or whatever it is that the government is coming up to say, this is what you can ask the child, this is what you cannot ask the child, this is what you can have in your server, and things like that. You cannot do this, and things like that, which is good rules and guidelines that they are coming up with, right? So that data is not shared with anybody and everybody. So we need to look into it for all these purposes. Right now, I would say it is all voluntary, and there are alumni networks and all those things that are being done, and there are individual organizations who are working on it.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there was one more person, and we will take his or her question, and that will be the last one as we close the session. And I know that some of you may be more curious. We will, Ram, if it's okay, you can share your email ID with them if they can write to you offline, if that's okay with you. So
yeah, I'm just going to put it on the chat group.
Yeah. So we'll have Mr. Krishna Kumar ask his question, and we'll try to take it to closure from there. Request all of you to note down in the chat window Ramprakash's email ID, so that beyond this session you can directly correspond with him and get your queries answered. Please go ahead, Mr. Krishna Kumar.
You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Hello, sir.
Sir, am I audible?
Sir, yeah, now you're audible. Now you're audible. So far, you are not audible.
Sir, I'm sorry. Sir, Ram sir, your journey, as you explained, has been fantastic and very inspirational. Thank you for the insights what you have shown. Mine is quite opposite. Earlier I was in teaching. Now I'm in core. So that's why I've got and I'm interacting with a lot of students and faculties during my course of this journey. What I've observed basically and most fundamentally, the flop part is the motivational aspect has been missing in most of the classes, even in college level also. So I think does it not play a major important role to motivate the students to make them more intrusive? That means, as you told, your QCards are non-intrusive, so as to maintain the privacy or whatever, to retain their issues of fear or something like that. But to motivate them to come out into the open, there should be a pedagogical approach. I feel that, sir. So what are your insights on that, sir? Motivational aspect.
Right. So this becomes slightly individual. Why I'm saying that is, I might be motivated by what on a particular event or a particular person that I admire and things like that. That is one part of it. The other part of it is, as teachers, as professors, there is a softer side that we always have to look at, right? So when we are actually looking at the set of students that we interact with on a day in, day out basis, we need to empathize, as we talked about earlier, right? Unless we understand the students and the parents from their perspective, right? Then we can probably use those as a collective learning to see how we can motivate them. Sometimes individual sessions are needed. Sometimes a collective sessions are needed. Sometimes it might be a certain event that might have happened, a not so great event that might have happened, that you want to emphasize on and say, okay, look, for example, they go for a, the school team or a college team goes for a match, a tournament, and they have lost in semifinals or quarterfinals or whatever it is, right? How do you motivate them for the next match? Because the tendency has always been to look at, oh, you did wrong, I did wrong, and point fingers and things like that. I'm just taking that as an example. Instead, can we look at the data, the statistics, right? And look at what happened, why it happened, and then learn from it, and then motivate the students to say, next time we go into a match, let's analyze the opponent team and then look at what factors that can actually help us to beat the team, right? It's all a learnings that we need to take from stage to stage, and through that, motivation plays an important part. And as I said before, we need to look at collectively as a group of students what motivates them, right? What you think as motivation may not mean what, I may not get motivated by a certain set of ideas that you might carry or I might carry.
So I actually I just got a notification that the meeting is towards the end. I'm having to stop it, but please share your email ID once again, Ram, on the screen if possible. I encourage all of you who have questions or who have unanswered questions to directly correspond. I hope, from my personal perspective, this was a wonderful session. We got to know the depth and breadth of work that Ram has done. I hope a lot of you also kind of got an awareness in terms of what is possible. But please keep the questions coming and do write to Ram, and we'll be more happy and to answer it.
And from my perspective, thank you all for joining and excellent questions. There are many still unanswered questions. I don't know whether I did justice to them. And the areas that we covered are not something where we can look for right or wrong answers, right? It is something that we all need to work together to make it better and better. Thank you all. Thank you, Karthik, for hosting this, and thank you, MPTL, for giving me this platform.
Thank you so much, NPTEL team, once again for your wonderful support. Thanks, Ram, and thanks to each one of you who has taken the time on a Saturday morning to spend 2 hours to learn about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very insightful and very rewarding. Very rewarding session, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful session, sir. It was very interactive and many good ideas and concepts have been given. Thank you very much.
Very happy to hear this. Glad that you all enjoyed.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good day to you.
Good day to all of you. Thank you.